Hello, I'm Only Jax, and I'm telling you right now, with 100% certainty, that Casey Marie Anthony is 100% guilty of one of the most heinous crimes that one could commit, both in the court of law and the court of public opinion. She joined TikTok. Oh, right, but also, in case you didn't already know, in 2011, she was put on trial for the murder of her almost 3-year-old daughter, Kaylee Marie Anthony, a sweet, wonderful, playful little girl who just had the softest eyes and the cutest little toddler face. The official story that her defense gave was that Kaylee Anthony accidentally drowned in the family swimming pool, and that upon finding her body, Casey Anthony and her father, George, disposed of the body. Well, the defense starts with that, but then says several times in the opening statement that we will never really know how she died, but you know, whatever. Listen, the prosecutors figured that they had enough physical evidence to prove Casey's guilt beyond a shadow of a doubt. And they also figured that the jury was just gonna be reasonable and see how Casey lied to the police about a fake kidnapping story, and how on the day of the alleged murder, Casey had Google searched things like chloroform, suffocation, and foolproof suffocation. And how when they searched Casey Anthony's car that allegedly transported the deceased Kaylee Anthony's body, how it contained traces of chloroform, human hair from Kaylee, and both traces and odors of human decomposition and also maggots. Now, okay, Casey Anthony's mom did testify in court that she was the one to look up chloroform, but let me give you this caveat. Both Casey's mother and father have been known to lie and protect Casey from consequence, even when the story just doesn't make sense. Take, for example, the time when Casey Anthony just straight up stopped going to school after she turned 18, and when the school told her parents that Casey wasn't going to graduate because of her absence, Casey spun a wild tale about scheduling issues, time mismanagement on the school's end, and yada yada yada. What did Casey's parents do? Well, despite Casey not having graduated high school, her parents, Cindy and George, threw her an extravagant graduation party where Casey was showered with gifts and graduation presents, despite not being able to produce a diploma. Basically, what I'm getting at is that I think her mom lied in court to clear Casey's name. Anyway, without relitigating the entire case, let me put it this way. It is widely believed that there was a wild and egregious miscarriage of justice when Casey Marie Anthony was acquitted of the murder of Kaylee Marie Anthony. Listen, dear viewer, I know that I don't need to defend why it's the opinion of this channel that Casey Anthony brutally murdered her 2-year-old daughter and then in the time after went off to go party and live it up with her loser stoner boyfriend for a month until, of course, the car that she had left Kaylee's rotting body in was towed and reported to Casey's parents, who then retrieved the car, noticing the smell of decomposition and maggots, at which point they find Casey and her month-long debauchery session is abruptly slammed to a halt. I shouldn't need to defend why it's my opinion that Casey Anthony is a cold-blooded, emotionless, Satan-influenced murderer, because I assume that most of you also share that opinion. In the time between then and now, Casey did wind up serving 4 years in prison for lying to the police about the circumstances of Kaylee's death and disappearance. She waited a few years after her release to do her first interview, where she admits publicly to lying to the police about Kaylee, and then a few years after that, she filed papers to open her own private investigation service, which is odd to say the least, because in order to get your PI license, you need to not be a convicted felon, which Casey Anthony most definitely is. Remember, even though she got away with murder, she was still convicted of the felony charge related to lying to the police. In 2022, she did some Peacock miniseries where she said her dad killed Kaylee, which is like, that's its own thing, but whatever. And that brings us back to the here and now. Casey Anthony is back, baby, in her car, sweating like a pig and ready to feed the world another big ol' helping of certified USDA choice bullshit. Let's have a look.
I sweat to death. Okay.
I would like to remind you that Casey Anthony is a master manipulator and a pathological liar whose only goal is to get you to find her relatable and not murderous. Any movements, any words, anything and everything she does is calculated. This is the same woman that for the entire time leading up to her trial kept solid this wild story about Zanny the nanny kidnapping her daughter. She told this lie to the police and her parents and kept it up despite investigators calling her out on it, all to just throw it away as soon as it became convenient for her to suddenly drop the act. If she's taking a deep breath, fanning her face, commenting on her sweatiness, and seemingly trying to calm her nerves, remember, it's an act. A deliberate act to trick your subconscious into thinking she's just a poor, falsely accused woman. Don't let her do that.
Today is Saturday, March 1st, 2025. This is my first of probably many recordings on a series that I'm starting. I am a legal advocate. I am a researcher. I've been in the legal field since 2011.
In the legal field since 2011? Listen, if you want to say you've been around the legal field since 2011, I'll buy it. But as I remember, in 2011, that was your trial. And then the following 4 years was you serving out your felony sentence. You can't then say I've been in the legal field since 2011, dummy. You were its ward. You were serving time. You were subject to the legal system, not in the legal field. No, guys. I'm a legal advocate. I've been in the legal field since 2017 when I was arrested for possessing alcohol in public underage.
And in this capacity, I feel that it's necessary, if I'm going to continue to operate appropriately as a legal advocate, that I start to advocate for myself and also advocate for my daughter.
Listen, I don't want to sound mean or anything, but if it were me and I were looking for someone to advocate for me legally, I would probably make sure that that person who was advocating for me actually graduated high school instead of lying about your absence and convincing your parents to throw you a grad party despite you not being able to produce a diploma. That's just me, though.
For those of you who don't know, my name is Casey Anthony. My daughter is Kaylee Anthony.
Kaylee Anthony was your daughter until you allegedly murdered her and then lied about it up until your trial, and then after your trial tried to pin the murder on your dad. Mother of the century, I will say.
My parents are George and Cindy Anthony. This is not about them. This is not in response to anything that they have said or done. That's not to say that I'm not going to respond at some point to some of the things that they have said and done. The whole point of this is for me to begin to reintroduce myself. I'm doing this both personally for me, but in a professional capacity. Moving forward, the majority of what you will see will be me speaking in a professional capacity.
Well, I'm glad I get to see you in more of a professional capacity, because the last time I saw you on TikTok, you were jamming out on stage with Steel Panther in Daytona. When I saw that video originally, I was so confused and I was thinking to myself, there's no way Steel Panther knows that that's Casey Anthony, right? But then I thought that would be pretty on brand for Steel Panther, you know, inviting a 30-something-year-old degenerate fucking high school dropout woman on stage to do random debauchery. That sounds like Steel Panther.
My goal is to continue to help give a voice to people.
That's rich. I wonder what Kaylee Anthony would have to say if she had a voice right now. Also, it's sort of unrelated, but since we're on the topic of innocent victims, do you remember Zanny the nanny character that Casey Anthony blamed her daughter's disappearance on? Well, the full name she gave was Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez, and as it turns out, she may have not just made that name up out of thin air. Because, according to the real Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez, Julio Ricardo Montoya de la Rosa Ramirez, her and Casey had been looking at apartments the same day. And according to Zenaida, the information Casey gave police about her matched the info she had left on a contact card left at the apartment complex. Anyway, so Zenaida claims that once the information about Zanny the nanny went public, she lost her job, her house, and it was just a real mess for the real Zanny. She brought up a defamation case and lost, but I figured it'd be fun to bring up, you know, a little fun fact, a little crossfire, a little getting caught astray.
To give people tools and resources that they can utilize so they actually know where they can turn to. So with that, please join me on Substack. If you have questions, I will set up an email address where we can correspond directly. Up until this point, that has never happened. And it's only going to be on a limited basis regarding legal issues, legal matters.
Don't download or follow her on Substack. I did both of those things, and when I went onto it to read the dumb stuff she was posting, I got bombarded with adult content on the homepage. I also followed her on TikTok, you know, to keep tabs on her, a lot like how I follow Chris Chan on Twitter. Don't do that either, because people found my account after I followed Casey and started grilling me on why I follow an alleged toddler slayer. Trust me, just stay away from this woman at all costs. That way she can't try to pin the murder of her daughter on you. Did I mention that it's my strongly held opinion that she murdered her daughter and got away with it based off of all the evidence I've seen in the trial footage that I've seen? Just making sure we're clear.
One of the main reasons that I'm doing this, there are people close to me who have been targeted and attacked recently. There are also people close to me who have had some recent things occur. And when necessary, people needed to step up, myself included. So as a proponent for the LGBTQ community, for our legal community, women's rights, I feel that it's important that I use this platform that was thrust upon me and now look at as a blessing as opposed to the curse that it has been since 2008.
Okay, a few things with this. First, if you're a part of any of those communities she just listed off, it may do you some good to start making it known now that you don't claim her. This woman is poison to any good you're ever gonna try and do. Secondly, what do you mean this platform that's been thrust upon you? You didn't need to go and do an interview in 2017 where you admit to lying to the police. You also didn't have to have your Peacock documentary thrust upon you either. Could have said no to that at any time. You also didn't have your TikTok thrust upon you. You recorded this and posted this yourself, dummy. Let me remind you and make it clear for the folks at home that you are not a victim here, like at all. Maybe the next time you're acquitted of a murder charge that's still widely contested, change your name and move states like a normal person.
With that, these aren't going to be perfect. They're not going to be edited. Most of the time, they're not going to be short.
I actually believe her when she says this, because she's shown her ability to draw out nonsense for an unbearably long time. Case in point, the 31 days between the death of her daughter and anyone being alerted that anything was wrong.
But I am proverbially standing in the light, embracing this piece, still going to keep my privacy intact, so you will get very comfortable with my car. And I will explain in great detail why it's so important for people to protect their privacy.
If I could draw your attention back to this clip of her rocking out on stage with Steel Panther. Oh yeah, really worried about her privacy and public perception. Got it.
It's not just important to public figures, it's even more important to private individuals. And with the current climate in our country especially, it's that much more important, which is why I am utilizing the Substack platform. Yes, I am advertising this and publishing this on TikTok, possibly also through other meta platforms, but my intention is to separate from that and showcase even more why Substack is such an important resource for people to utilize moving forward. Anyway, I appreciate your time, and we'll see how this goes.
Word salad. I'm not a tech bro or anything, but if I were like an investor or anything for Substack, I'm selling my shares like yesterday. The first time I ever hear about this platform is from alleged child murderer Casey Anthony, and there's no way I'm the only person to find out about it like this. Like, what a horrible spokesperson for your app. Like, if the choice were between a steaming pile of dog shit and Casey Anthony, I'm putting that pile of dog shit in the Super Bowl commercial every single time. Anyway, I don't have much more to say. I would like to make it clear that I'm not calling for her deplatforming or anything. I don't think anyone should call for her deplatforming, and I'll tell you why. We shouldn't deplatform idiots and deplorables. Because if we silence idiots and deplorables, we no longer get to point and laugh. And I think that in the world of misinformation, horrible people saying horrible things, Casey Anthony and Hustlers University, the more we point and laugh, the more powerless these things become. The flip side is those things get silenced underground and fester into something that's too big and dangerous to fight against. Anyway, that's it for me. I just wanted to poke fun at Casey Anthony, because what a dumb bitch coming to TikTok. Why would you do that? And then if you're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna be open for be a legal advocate and protect people and, you know, talk to me on Substack, like, her comments are turned off on the TikTok. Like, come on. Come on, be an advocate for yourself and open up your comments so I can point and laugh at all the horrible things everyone has to say to you. But with that, I'm Only Jackson. Until next time, don't murder your daughter. You made it to the end of the video. You should subscribe, or maybe just leave a like. Leave a comment if you please, but I'd rather you subscribe. I check that shit like every day, and when that subscriber number goes up, well, my heart goes up to the sky. When you